It's Big Brother's Big Archive. This week's episode, Geordie Paul.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us for this latest episode of Big Brother's Big Archive. My name is Karl Bainbridge, and joining me as ever, Mr. Joseph Tilley.
Hello.
And the newest member of our team, joining us all the way from Burton-upon-Trent, I believe, Mr. Karl Dutton.
Some side city in the side, or town in the side of it, yeah. Hello everybody, yes, I am Karl. I'm kind of, people may know me, I've done YouTube videos, I do podcasts and things like that, but I've never come out and said, you know, I'm a Big Brother fan, because in this day and age, it's not a very popular thing to come out and say, but, you know what the hell, I enjoy the show, I've got opinions on the show, I'm always on forums and ranting about things, and then when I've listened to these guys since they started, and then when they were looking for a co-host, I was like, okay, I do podcasts, I like ranting, and I like ranting about this show, so this is pretty much perfect.
Yeah, and we're very thankful for Karl to join the team. Of course, Paul had to go to university, doing an art degree. He's really enjoying it. Hopefully we're trying to get him on board to maybe do one during these off-season, but we've got Karl here, and we're very happy for him to be here, and
hopefully he does better out of his degree than he did mine, because I did a film degree and I've ended up at Sainsbury's, so...
I think we're all in the same boat here, Karl, to be honest. But we've given Karl a nice, easy series to start off with. An easy one, because it's the most recent series that we've just watched, which is Celebrity Big Brother 12. Just aired this summer, just after Big Brother 14. And it's a series which is quite divisive. I think that I know a lot of people on the forums who are quite appreciative of it, and some that just feel it was a bit too coloured by numbers for its own good, I felt. But we'll put that to you, Karl. First question to ask, which is, what was your view of Celebrity 12 as a series?
Well, when you said we were going to do this show, you said, we're going to do the latest celebrity show, and I said, what, the one from January? Because, you know, my opinion, definitely, as pretty much everybody's opinion is 2 a year is way too much, and this series was, for me, entirely forgettable for the most part. There were some good moments, but when I thought the celebrity series, I thought this year's January one was far better, at least far more memorable. And the civilian series this year was actually rather good. So I think of those, and I remember those far more fondly than I do this one. To me, this was now, after the civilian show's done, okay, we've got another celebrity one, and dear God, you thought they were scraping the bottom of the barrel when they had one a year.
I actually do disagree with you, and I felt in that Celebrity 11 was the better series. I thought Celebrity 12 did have some good moments, but I felt that there was this real lethargic attitude to it, and both in the housemates and in the production, it was like a celebrity series just for the sake of having a celebrity series. 11
at least had the whole conflict with Rylan and you know, the American bloody Smidey, whatever they put.
Spidey.
Spidey. They had their whole clash and that drama and stuff. You know, this series, drama maybe started in terms of somebody raised their voice a couple of times and argued over sleep. You know, yeah.
And what about you, Joe? Are you a bit more positive about Celebrity 12, or do you share our views?
Yeah, I feel that I agree with both of you that it was good, but it has been better. 11 was pretty good. 12 was a little bit behind. It wasn't as exciting.
In many ways, this series sort of reminds me a bit of Celebrity 6, the Coolio series, because it's quite similar in that you had a lot of ingredients which should have made a great series, but it was really toned down. I mean, there was arguments, there was bickering, there were characters, but it never really gelled together.
Sorry, all I can think of when I was running Troy drunk, driving into the door again.
I'm so glad.
That was a bit of a boring series as well, though. At its moments, it reminded me, this show did, of that. It's, you know, the last couple of years on Channel 4 were a bit naff for the. I just never been into the celebrity one that much. I've always preferred the civilian one, because the celebrity one is always kind of like the gimmick version.
Yes, yeah. And I've sort of felt that since it's gone to Channel 5, the celebrity version started to surpass the civilian version and become more important.
Because they care more about the ratings, and it gets more ratings. They're like, you know what'll, if we put on 2 a year, it'll get that rated all year. No, it'll just water down and make people not tune in as much the next time.
Yeah, but we sort of touched on it there when we mentioned the good cast and some of the cast members. And really, this is our time to assess the cast in general. Did we think it was a good cast? Did we think it was a bad cast? Who stood out for you, especially on launch night, as somebody who could potentially be good?
Well, I liked when they first all went in. I was like, okay, so we got the Geordie Shore girl who is obviously going to be loud and cause conflict. Although the fact that the crowd were going insane, you'd think, you think one of the best celebrities in the country were going in, according to that crowd. So that automatically kind of made me go ugh, to her, because she was like a automatic chosen winner because she was the most popular, as sometimes these things go. And I liked that I recognised some of them. That's always a bonus on a celebrity series. Obviously, you have the obligatory, American edition with Courtney. See, I have to remind us some of these people's names of these recent series. Courtney.
I have to warn you though, Karl. I am probably the biggest Courtney fan going on the internet, so I'm going to be.
She was good. She was fine. She added entertainment to the show. She annoyed me when she started to become the I want to leave person. But in terms of entertainment value, she was better than quite a few of them. The Americans always seem to bring it.
One of the things I did notice about this celebrity cast, though, and it's something I want to bring up with Joe, is that I sort of felt there was a different approach to who they recruited for the series. I felt with Celebrity 11, I think they got some quite big names for that series, but they were big names which you sort of knew deep down weren't going to deliver. I mean, you could never expect someone like Frankie Dettori or Gillian Tilforth ever being exciting characters. I felt for this one, I think they sacrificed a little bit of star power to try and get names which I think they knew had the potential to deliver. So we got people like Charlotte from Geordie Shore, we had people like Mario from Towie, we had Louis Spence, etc. Did you get the feeling, Joe, that they sort of sacrificed a bit of star power for potential entertainment?
Well, firstly, I think that Frankie Dettori was a brilliant housemate in the last series, and I think he was marvellous. I do agree with you that they sacrificed it for star power. I mean, Screech from Saved by the Bell, oh my god. I screamed when I saw him.
He was so nice to begin with. That first week, he was such a nice, laid-back guy. I was like, this guy's got it. And then he just... Yeah, we'll get to it.
We'll come to Dustin later, because I think we've got a lot... I think a lot of us have a lot of opinions to say about Dustin. Do you think the gamble of quality instead of star power worked on the whole?
Yeah, I think it was. I definitely think it was.
Well, we discussed everything pre-show, which means we've got to move on to week one. And the first week one, as ever, there's always a week one first eviction twist. And this year, it was the Cult of Celebrity, which saw Louis Spence, Sophie Anderton, and Lauren Harries all becoming part of a Big Brother cult. And as a result, choosing 3 people who they wanted to nominate. Now, the first thing I want to discuss, though, is was anyone a bit surprised at the 3 people they chose to do it? I mean, really, when you're doing a twist like this, you're basically trying to give immunity to your 3 biggest characters. And I can sort of understand Lauren and Louis. Sophie Anderson was a bit of a strange one. Why do you think she was chosen for the cult by production? We'll put that to Karl first.
I think they chose them because they thought they were going to be the bitchiest characters. They thought they were going to get the most snipey, bitchy comments from them as they were watching.
I think so. You, Joe?
I agree with Karl on that.
Yeah. And the other thing I had about the Cult of Celebrity as well, which I found which irked me a lot, the overproduction.
Oh, yes.
How bad was the overproduction of that? I mean, I know they wanted to try and make it seem like it was this big, high-status thing, but it just came across as so cheesy.
Yeah, look, Channel 5. I putting in dramatic music and making things over the top and like they're in robes and they're doing the ceremony, except they're not in like good looking robes, they're in like glittery gold robes that look like you buy them for a pound shop from Halloween. It just looked camp, it looked naff, and to me this twist, the way this twist was produced, was like a metaphor for the entire show. It's like okay, you've got a good idea for a twist, but you overdo it, you overdress it, you overshoot it, you over-edit it. It's just, if it had been like, okay, you have to go and live among them, and then you have to go and stab them in the back, and it's all kind of like this secret sort of club code kind of thing, that's pretty cool. But have it, again, it's the same as when they first brought it back and they did the bedsit type thing, where they had them dressed up as ghosts and stuff. It's like, the twist in itself is good enough. You don't need to dress them up in silly costumes and put silly music over it with lens flares. Just stop.
Yes.
It's cheesy as hell.
So cheesy, I have to agree there. The argument has to be made, though, that arguably, based on the three people that they chose to be nominated, the twist worked, because arguably they were the three of the weakest characters up until that point. Do you think these were the right people? Do you think the right choices were made?
I definitely agree on Ron, because really, he didn't really do much. I know it was only like a day to decide, but in that day, he was probably the most boring person ever.
And what about you, Karl?
Till he started, being himself and saying stupid comments again.
And we've got one of the...
that, but they knew what they were doing when they were putting him into the show. They wanted him to say something like what got him kicked off the air, and that's what they got with Ron. But other than that, again, when he rang, I go back to the finale or whatever it was, when he rang in to talk to Bruce, and he was like, Bruce, my favourite memory of the entire thing was when we had that chopped tomatoes on toast. That was your highlight of the series. Okay, that sums up why you should go. Bye.
Yeah.
And you actually brought me onto a really good point in mentioning some of Ron's comments, which is on day 3, Ron had his infamous racist scarf. I believe it was Sophie Anderson had finished coming out the shower, had her hair wrapped up in a towel, and Ron made an off-the-colour comment saying something like, I hope you haven't got a bomb in there somewhere, under there. And of course he ended up getting the formal warning for it. What was your opinion on that? Because I know a lot of people who really, quite rightly, condemned Ron for having this sort of attitude. But there was also a lot of people that sort of defended him and said, well, that's just Ron's generation, that's just the era he grew up in. Where do you stand on that? We'll put that to Joe.
I totally agree that it was the era he grew up in. It wasn't meant as malicious, and I don't think Big Brother should have, warned him for it. I think it's just Ron making a joke that kind of backfires a bit.
And what about you, Karl?
Absolutely, he should have been reprimanded for saying that. People have been reprimanded and given warnings for so much. If you're going to give Jemima a warning for what she said, God, you're going to give Ron a warning for that one. Yes, it is his generation, but here's the thing with me is they knew what they were getting when they put him in there. They knew why he was kicked off TV. They knew, he was probably going to say comments like this. So, yes, he should have been punished, but at the same time, probably before he went in there, they probably should have said, just try not to say any off-colour comments. I know that may be what you'd say at home, but just try and be careful.
That's like saying, if you were to say to Pete Bennett, don't do any ticks, don't say wanker or the F word or whatever, he couldn't do that. Yeah,
they knew what they were doing. They cast him for this reason, to have that controversy.
Yes.
And then, of course, they enjoyed having the controversy. That's what they did. But, yes, he definitely should have been reprimanded, because the equivalent is walking up to a black person and saying, wow, don't rob me. That's the equivalent. Okay, so, yes.
So, I don't want to argue about this, but Pete Bennett did, actually. He said to Caesar, he called him a wanker. Would he have been reprimanded?
Well, he was right.
If it was the rules that are in this Big Brother, would Pete have been reprimanded for calling him a wanker?
No, because that's just a swear word. Saying somebody has a bomb and they are a suicide bomber because they happen to look like they've got a burqa on is completely the opposite side of the thing to using a regular swear word. That's my thing.
Okay.
I was really enjoying that conversation, but we're going to have to move on. And we're going to move on to something a lot more light-hearted. And I want your opinions on this. One of the things that really began to show itself during that first week, which was Courtney and Lauren's friendship. What did you make on this too? Because these two were very much an odd couple.
I loved it. I really did. I think it was very sweet that I think Lauren was not a mother but like a sister.
Yes, it was a very sisterly relationship. What about you, Karl? Are you as positive about Courtney and Lauren as what we are?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a fun little friendship. The thing seemed to be with me though is that Courtney, she's young and all that. She would dump Lauren as soon as it was the cool thing to do. She would join in with the clique kind of thing if they were bitching about her. So, but again, you could put that down to her age, I guess.
But then as well, I think what made that even more complex was that in Lauren you had someone who was very clingy and needed a relationship like Courtney's. And when Courtney did start to move away, Lauren
you see why she reacted like she did, because some of the stuff that Lauren did, you were just like, wow. You know, like, yes, I'd be creeped out by that too. But, you know, there's people, at the end of the day, if you're with somebody 24/7 and somebody's like that, we were cringed out by her watching 1 hour of the show. If somebody's like that to you 24/7, if someone, like, the next day as you proclaim their friendship for them is saying, oh, we're going to be friends for life, we're going to do all this, like, you'd be like, hang on, wait a minute.
Didn't they make plans that they were trying to do their own reality show together or something like that?
Oh, okay, that won't happen.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one coming to E near you. You were just mentioning there, though, cringeworthy moments, and that brings us quite rightly on to Drunken Carol McGiffin.
Yes.
Joe's going to have an absolute field day with this. What was your view on Carol's behaviour? I mean, I'm not joking, nearly every episode during that first week, she was nearly always plastered.
Well, I can say very much that it wasn't as bad as Denise. She was really bad. But Carol, I think she was just funny. You know, I think she was hilarious.
And I think that's one of the big differences you pointed out between her and Denise, which was that, I don't know about you, I'm probably going to upset you about this, Joe, but I always felt
she
that...
didn't fancy anyone. Yeah.
I always felt with Denise, I felt Denise was more of a nasty drunk, and it resulted in stuff like Pantsgate happening.
Oh, boo!
Whilst Carol was more of a happy drunk. She was just funny with being drunk all the time, I felt.
Yeah.
You're the adjudicator here, Karl. Where did you stand?
Yeah, she was generally happy drunk, although it did get vicious when it started getting on to, like, she's like, yeah, Lauren, go. I know she was just having fun, but she was like stirring the pot with Lauren, and she was like, you know, when the whole thing happened with Vicky, although I think Vicky was probably more in the wrong from that. Like, Carol would say some comments about her, and then Vicky would say them back, and it just got really out of hand when they both got drunk, and it did get a bit vicious at times, but in general, she was just a fun drunk, and I didn't mind it, you know. She's just a middle-aged woman having fun.
And luckily in this series, Big Brother 12, Celebrity Big Brother 12, there wasn't a young man who the drunk, loose woman could lust over. Like Frankie, what's his name?
Frankie Kokoza.
Yeah.
God, Denise.
Really? I thought she was into good old Tarantino's boy.
Well, by the looks of things, she was trying to get into one of the twins' pants. That's my opinion.
Well, she did.
Yeah, we'll move on from Drunken Carol and the exploits of the loose women, and we come to the first eviction of the season, which was Ron, Danielle, and Vicky. Most people felt Vicky was going to be safe. She had the Corrie fan base, so she was pretty much locked on. And I felt as well there was a bit of sympathy going on because of the stuff with Carol. So Vicky was pretty much safe. Ron and Danielle it was going to be very close between them. A lot of people questioned whether or not Ron could get the fan base of like a tween vote to try and keep him in. But they managed to do so, and it was Danielle Marr who ended up going first. And this is our opportunity to discuss our Irish housemate Danielle.
I enjoyed her, especially towards the end. She was starting to get a bit fun when she was starting to get in Sophie's face and stuff. That was all some fun stuff, and you know, she came back into it even more. And I didn't mind her. She was obviously boring to begin with, but I think she was starting to become entertaining when they kicked her out. But you know, she wasn't as popular as all the others. So,
do you think the right decision was made in getting rid of Danielle over Ron or Vicky?
Oh, not over Ron. Okay, I know Ron had a bigger fan base, but come on, Danielle was at least having some catfights.
Yes, I think so there. I think one of the things that really stood out with me over Danielle, I know we joked that she didn't do anything, but I think that's a bit harsh. One of the things that stood out for me was her delusions of how big of a celebrity she was.
Maybe she is in Ireland, they said that, you know.
I can imagine in Ireland, yeah, maybe a big celebrity, but she seemed adamant that she was this big superstar when really she wasn't. And one thing as well I want to bring up as well, which was, what did you make of the decision to bring back Vote to Save for this celebrity series? Because we had Vote to Evict for the civilian version, which sort of worked okay. I think there were some definite faults, some evictions that you would change, and now we're back to Vote to Save again. Why do you think Channel 5 seems so indecisive over what sort of format they want to use?
I think they're just trying to find something. They haven't found it yet, I don't think, but they're just trying to find a format that'll work. And until they find it, they're just going to keep changing it.
That could be it. They could just be like, oh, let's see what works better and what the people like more and what makes us more money, because that's ultimately the deciding factor.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the way I took it was they're going to have vote for for civilian and vote to save for celebrities, so you get both, and everybody's happy, and you get to hate on and tear down the real people, but they get the money for people voting for celebrities because of their fan base.
I think as well, because the biggest celebrities are going to automatically have bigger fan bases, you're going to keep them around for longer automatically.
Yeah.
Like someone like a Charlotte who had a big pre-show fan base could be in danger in a vote to evict, when in a vote to save there's no chance of a going.
And on the regular series, there's more of a chance of people turning on people. Like, there are certain people who have been utter just pricks in this show, but because they've had a fan base, that fan base votes for them no matter what. Whereas in the civilian series, if somebody does something wrong, their popularity disappears overnight. See the last series with Wolfie.
Big time. Wolfie's one of the biggest falls from Big Brother I think I've ever seen. But we lose Danielle, and Ron and Vicky are called into the diary room after the nominations, and then told that one housemate of their choice is going to automatically be nominated. And Louis was quite interested in this. They eventually chose Louis, but Louis was very adamant he wanted to be the one who was nominated. And it brings me on to one of the big flaws and one of the big discussion points of the series, which was the housemates' attitudes, and particularly how nearly everybody seemed so joyless about the experience and all wanted out at the first opportunity. Why do you think that was?
I mean, we mentioned it happened later on with Dustin, even though, towards the start of the show, he was like, I'm loving it here, and then as soon as things started going bad, they were all like, okay, I want out now. Like, as soon as they realised the show that they were in, I just can't understand. I know the Americans, I suppose, but there's still such thing as YouTube. How you can go into a show or go into this show and expect to be waited on hand and foot and not know that you're going to get starved and put through the ringer for entertainment. Know the show that you're going on, and it just kind of, they just seem to get bored and like, okay, well, this was fun. I'm going to get paid whether I stay here or not. So bye. I think the solution to this would be pay them by the week. So the longer they stay in, I don't think it is. I think they get a flat fee. So I'd say pay them by the weeks. The longer they stay in, the more money they make.
And of course, as well, the celebrity series no longer have the cash prize as well as an extra incentive to try and win.
Yeah, and you don't even really, you might get a job on bit on the side if you win,
Yeah.
I'm expecting the Charlotte and Violent combination for next year's bit on the side.
If that show could become more unwatchable, go ahead.
I think that's what they've aimed. I think with bit on the side, it's just like, how bad can we make this before people ultimately stop?
I like it when Emma's on, but well, other than when they have bloody people predicting the future out of cabbages.
But we come up to the second eviction, and it was 5 people, I believe, who was up for that week. It was Louis Spence, as we mentioned, along with Charlotte, Courtney, Lauren and Ron up again. Now, I think a lot of people assumed Louis was going to be safe. A lot of people assumed that Charlotte was going to be safe, quite obviously. Really, it was a freeway between Courtney, Lauren and Ron. And Lauren surprised a lot of people by being one of the 2 which got the most votes. Where did you stand on that? Because Lauren, through a lot of people inside the house, was perceived as quite unpopular. And yet to see her keep doing so well in the public vote, it sort of shook it up a bit, I felt.
I think it was maybe production again. They focus more on the people who are going to be up, and then that makes them look more popular, so people save them.
It's the Pete thing. It's the Nadia thing. It's the any time they have an underdog in the show against the cool group, no matter what type of place, if they are the underdog against the cool group, they're going to be liked. And if they have something quirky or weird about them, if they're a transsexual, or if they're a gay person, or if they're they've got a Tourette syndrome, something that makes them sympathetic on top of that, double whammy. That person will be the favourite of the series.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly applicable to Lauren. But so Lauren survives, which I'm very happy about, as does Courtney, and that means, of course, that Big Ron ends up being our second person evicted. And what did you make of Ron? I mean, we sort of touched on it earlier. We're not really the biggest fans of him, but I'd sort of like to try and be a bit sympathetic to him, because he was an old guy. Do you know what Big Ron was to me? Basically, he was your granddad on Big Brother.
Yeah, he was out of his depth, definitely.
But I felt that he was sort of likable with it in some ways. Yes, he had some gaps. I sort of knew he was never going to be that exciting, but considering the age he was, how out of touch he was with everyone, that was sort of to be expected, I felt. Are there any positive aspects to Ron which you liked, Karl?
I think that they wanted him to go in there and be the grumpy old man who was clashing with the young guys. He ended up being, again, like you just said, your granddad. He ended up being that kind of laid-back old person who's just like, young people, you know. And that's they got more of what they wanted from Bruce, where he's like, young people, you know, the elderly neighbour you've got that yells at you all the time for playing music too loud. They got that from Bruce, not from Ron. Ron was, you know, he was there because he was a name, obviously. He was there because of his controversy. They got a couple of controversial comments out of him, and they were pretty much that plus the boredom, you know. Goodbye.
We move on to week 3 though, and we move on to another fun day task, which was the dance-off.
Oh God, yeah.
A good fun task, but really the standout for me in that was of course Lauren's breakdancing.
Yeah.
Some of the funniest television you could see, in my opinion. Just the way the Lauren was supposed to spin around, and she just ended up like pushing herself and just like slowly in a circle. Really good fun. Lauren had a lot of those sort of moments where she just came across as so awkward and so unaware.
Yeah, Lauren was really. That's the thing. Even though I would not want to be in that house with her, she was one of those people who, even that she was so sympathetic and likable. Like, she's that, you know, bless her kind of thing. You know, she's trying, and she's hilarious when she tries.
Yes. You know? Do you think the right decision was made though in casting Lauren? Because I was aware that she tried to go into a couple of the Channel 4 series, they turned her down because of medical conditions. But Channel 5 decide stuff that we're going to put her in anyway. Do you think they did the right thing ethically, putting Lauren in there?
I think that, yeah. I think if she wanted to, you know, and she felt in herself that she could, then that she should.
What about you,
It
Karl?
seems that the psychiatric screenings are not what they used to be, because I mean, every time that somebody goes in, I've heard a thing. The old psychiatrist Joe Hemmings always speaks up and says how, you know, Jasmine apparently, or I think it was Jasmine from last year, who failed the psych test in the past and they wouldn't let her in because of it. And then they've done the same thing here with Lauren. So would they have passed the psych test in the past? Look, if the cast of 7 could get into that house, and you know, and some of the ones that we've had, I believe that the screenings were not what they claim them to be. You know, if Shabazz get in there, then I believe that anyone saying that the 4, you know, psychiatric test was more strict, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the story always was that Shabazz actually failed the Channel 4 psych test, but they ignored it anyway.
Oh, well.
That explains a lot. But we move on from Lauren and we move on from the breakdancing. Now, I want to use this opportunity to try and discuss Charlotte's behaviour in the house. One of the things that really sort of irked me, I mean, I know Charlotte has a lot of fans, quite obviously, because she won, but I always found it quite off-putting, some of the things that Charlotte was being glorified for by her fan base inside the house, because, I mean, the belching, the scratching of a bum, like the wetting the bed, these weren't traits really, in my opinion. I don't want to get all moral police here, but they're not traits really which I feel should be glorified by the audience.
She is the audience. She is their target audience. She is the Geordie Shore, she is the teenage girl who thinks that getting drunk every night or every Friday night and sleeping with a guy in a back alley and that's a successful night. That, you know, that she is that, and that's what the fan base identify with. She won.
Yeah.
And she was frankly disrespectful to, you know, Bruce was in the wrong on a lot of those arguments, but later on, especially when she started like yelling bitch, bitch, bitch at Vicky over nothing, it was just like, all she needed was the Burberry.
Do you think that Charlotte sort of played on her status as like the big favourite with the massive fan base and sort of hammed up and felt I can do what I want because I'm Charlotte, because I'm going to win?
Well, she went in there to a huge cheering reaction based off the stuff she'd done on Geordie Shore, so obviously she was going to do the same thing in the house.
And Karl sort of touched on something as well, which I want to bring up, which was this sort of ongoing Bruce versus Charlotte battle between the two of them. Where did you stand on that? Did Charlotte have a right to be in the wrong, or was it just Bruce being an old grump?
I think that it was. I said I think Bruce was in the right with the whole sleeping thing, but at the same time, the way he overreacted about it was the problem. And then she overreacted to that. It's just nobody was in the right, really. He was being an old grump. She was being a disrespectful little git. And it was fun television.
Good fun television, definitely.
Neither of them were in the right in that argument at all. And definitely when you get to the Vicky argument later on, she was totally in the wrong.
We'll move on from Bruce and Charlotte, though, and we're coming up to another shopping task and another use of the secret room, Quel Supreme with Channel 5, the Mr. Big shopping task. Sort of a cross between the bed sit and, if you remember it, the Uber Cougar from Big Brother 11.
Oh yes, the Uber Cougar.
What did you think? What did you think of this one, though? Fun task or just same old, same old?
I think it was an interesting task. I really do. It's one of the best Channel 5 ones so far.
Well, that's a big statement to say. I mean, I'm not the biggest lover of Channel 5's tasks. This was a good one, but I felt it could have been done a lot better. It just felt very formulaic. Where did you stand, Karl?
This was the right kind of overproduced. I thought they used the, where it was kind of like the Riddler type thing with the guy being sort of shadowed and you can't really see his face, and that kind of secret message type thing. That was all cool. But if I never see people are supposed to be evicted and they get locked in a secret room ever again on this show, it'll be too soon. Channel 5 have worn that gimmick to the bone.
Too much for me.
It was two during the series, right out loud.
Well, 3, considering Carol's fake eviction, which we'll come to later.
Okay. Yeah.
But we'll come to that later, as we mentioned. But some of the tasks in the Mr. Big task, other housemates had to compete in separate little mini challenges to try and supposedly free the captees, which I believe were Mario, Carol, and am I right in saying that
Lauren.
It was Lauren who was the other one?
I tell you why I remember it was the moment that just made me go, "Wow, Lauren." When she it's just one of those quirky moments. She had like an orange juice or something, and she was getting it to her mouth, and she literally threw it over her shoulder. What? Your mouth is not there.
Brilliant. But as you mentioned, though, there were different mini tasks which you had to do. So Courtney, in exchange for all of the material possessions, had to exchange all the material possessions, but she got a visit from her husband Doug. Actually, I want to bring this up. Actually, it's quite ironic we do this as well, because apparently there's the relationships on the rocks. Where did you stand on Doug and Courtney, particularly with Doug involved? Because I've always been of the belief that had Courtney have gone in with Doug, because there was a lot of rumour he was going to go in as well. Do you think Courtney would have been as popular as what she was?
Who was it?
Courtney.
No, Joe. Who was Doug? Come on, Joe. They kept talking about her famous husband. It was kind of like what's her face all over again, Lydia. It was, to me, I'm sure he's been in some great movies or something, but I've not seen them. I was like, okay, who's she married to? He's like, is it Michael Douglas or the Doug is famous Hollywood actor? And he shows up, and I'm like, who the hell is that? But no, he was fine. He was your supportive American husband. We didn't see anything beyond the surface of that. The whole outside contact thing, I may as well just give up on that. I mean,
that's never coming back.
Yeah, the celebrity series has always been more lax with that, though. To be fair, so but at least he was like tied up or something. It wasn't like they could molest each other.
Yeah. Oh.
No, we definitely wouldn't want to say that. I mean, it's creepy enough that a 51-year-old's marrying an 18-year-old, but
yeah.
But we had other mini tasks which happened. Of course, Abs, being in 5, had to sing a 5 song. We had Dustin becoming Screech from Saved by the Bell again, which I'm sure Joe loved.
They love to do that.
Yeah.
They love to take they love to take like the person who did a role 20 years ago, and they've got to relive it because that's what everybody knows them as. Even though this person inside, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Sorry, I'll let you go first, Karl.
I was going to say, it just reminded me of last year with, what's her name from Steps, where every moment they could, they played tragedy to her or called her Claire from Steps. It was ridiculous.
It was. I was actually a bit surprised with it from a personal point of view, because from all the interviews I'd heard, Dustin Diamond was actually quite resentful towards the Screech character, didn't want to associate himself with it. So I found it quite interesting that he's very happy to do that in the show.
So what you're saying is that he's the Z-less Harrison Ford.
You can say that, yeah. And the other one which happened, which I want to bring up as well, because it's another great Lauren Harries moment, which was Bruce and Vicky's Coronation Street style soap in the treehouse, and how Lauren was supposed to vacate the room, but just utterly refused. I think it's this one, or just utterly refused to do so, and just
It
stayed.
wasn't the soap, was it? The soap was a different thing, because it was like part of the TV task. It was like a rip-off of the 2010 one, or whatever it was. It was when they did the reality show.
Yes,
They had to become the Geordie Shore and do a scripted reality show. That was probably my funniest part of the show. Just because it was them, Courtney was so good at doing the overacting, at basically being Charlotte, and Dustin was really good because he was really good at doing that. It was the best moment for both of those two, or at least one of the best moments for Courtney. And then in the background, you had Lauren. She was supposed to leave, and it was like, but she's there, getting involved in the storyline, sitting down, and you cut back to the people who wrote the thing, and then it's going, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, it was brilliant.
It was so good.
Yeah, you've got to love Lauren Harries for stuff like that. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I always get them two mixed up, but very funny task. But the Mr. Big thing ends up spoiling itself slightly when they do the fake eviction of Carol.
Again, somebody goes in a secret room so they can bitch at the monitor and then they can play it back to him. Like, they wonder why everybody sat in the regular series this year going, okay, so they're in a secret room then. You know, it's just, get a new twist. If you're going to bring back an old twist, you've done this one 10 times. Bring back the box challenge. That was
Yes, I adore the box challenge.
Bring back some of those awesome tasks that we haven't seen instead of just the same one over and over again.
It's either secret rooms or shock tasks or shock suits.
We didn't see that one this year. Thank God.
Thank God, yeah.
Every time I think of the secret room, I always think of Michelle. No naked jacuzzi-ness.
But
that was awesome, but they're never going to do that again. They keep trying to replicate it. And everybody, the reason that was brilliant is because it had never been done before. Nobody expected it. Now everybody expects it because they keep doing it. Every series, twice a series, 3 times a series. It's getting to the point that, I'd like to see this. If you're going to do it, let's throw some money, build half a house each, and then when somebody gets evicted, they go into another house, and then the other house fills up evictees, and then let's do something like that, something an original twist on it.
I quite like that idea.
Puppets.
Yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
But we move on from Carol's fake eviction, and we move on to the real eviction of Sophie Anderton. Now, Sophie was a bit of a strange one for me because I felt that she sort of delivered as a bit of a bitch. She did what was expected of her from the show. But it was very by numbers. It was weak. In many ways, she sort of reminded me as a villain of what Michelle Heaton was in Celebrity 6.
Yeah.
Just more of a nag rather than anything which was really enjoyable to the viewer.
Sophie who?
Was she the villain? I didn't see her as the villain. She was just like was she the villain because she was against popular people, I guess? No, to me she was she was a bit bitchy, a bit awkward, said some inappropriate things, got up Carol's crawl, they bitched about each other, they bitched to each other, and then she got kicked out. Yay.
Yeah.
So are there any positive Sophie moments that you two can think of?
She caused drama, a little bit of drama.
That's it.
That's pretty much it, yeah. But then, pretty much almost immediately, in face-to-face nominations, again expected to come from Channel 5, we see Abs, Bruce, Courtney, Dustin, Lauren, Louis, and Vicky nominated. Big group of nominees there. Why did they continue to persist with face-to-face nominations? This is just something that really irks me.
Second time this series as well, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and they did it like twice in the celeb. Like I actually, when the civilian one ended, I actually realised there'd only been 1 week where there was normal nominations, and that was only because what's his face was kicked out. That's how bad it's got. every week has to be a gimmick, and I understand it's for ratings and stuff thing. I do like that this year, though. However, they seem to have stepped up. Like in previous years, people would just be like, "I'm nominating you because I think you should go home to your family." I'm sorry. Nowadays, like, I'm going to nominate you because you deserve it, and I'm going to say it to your face because you're a bitch. Like this year, they've got better at it. They've actually, at least in a couple of occasions, not really this series, although they did do it a bit. I mean, he's Louis, but it causes some good moments. But you know, at the end of the day, you're going to get more from them if you do it in private, and then you're going to get, hell, let's allocate some more interview time and play it back to them on the interview. Then you get some good drama there, and then you get some good drama when they finally meet face to face on the finale and stuff. You don't need to stir the pot as much as they do.
Definitely.
Yeah, they do this so they hate each other more, and they end up bitching about each other more. Then they can, they have TV to show instead of hours of sitting around doing nothing.
Which is fair enough. It makes the show more exciting, and I do realise that manipulating them more does go back to the core elements of the show, because the core element of the show is supposed to be 1984, originally, Orwell, all that kind of thing. So it's supposed to be this omnipresent power messing with people's minds and controlling them and stuff, and it does go back to that, the fact that they're controlling almost the people's who they like, who they don't like. The show is actually like Big Brother as an entity is controlling these people's lives as they're in the house, as opposed to just standing back and watching what happens naturally. So it does go back to the more content of the show. It's what you prefer. Does it make for more exciting television? Yes, but I think in the end, the people are just going to get wise to it.
Yeah.
I definitely think so there. But between that nominations, of course, we had the Geordie short task, which, as we mentioned, very entertaining. Before we get to a double eviction, and the first person to be evicted was Dustin Diamond. Now, was anybody a little bit surprised about this result? Because
No.
Not on the week it happened. He had been this very positive, very nice guy at the start. Then there was the week when they got starved, and then all of a sudden he was like, "I want to go now. I hate this place now." And then that last week he got almost nasty. Not nasty, but he got very sort of miserable. And after he came out, he said that was all deliberate because he wanted to be miserable and boring because he wanted to go. So that's what they all say when they get evicted, don't they?
What's happened before that he's been alright, then he's been a complete douchebag. In what was it, something Fit Club or something, was it, Karl?
yes, I'm actually, you brought me onto a really good point there, Joe, which was that I'd known about Dustin Diamond's reality TV exploits, what he'd done pretty much after Saved by the Bell. And I'll be honest, I had him as one of my dream housemates. I'd wanted Dustin Diamond on there for a long time because I just felt this guy is going to be a grade A alpha dick character, and he's going to be absolutely amazing entertainment. And what we got, as Karl mentioned, was this dully nice guy for the first couple of times, and then this morning sulk for the rest of it. And it was really underwhelming as a character. Probably top 5 most disappointing celebrity housemates.
Yeah.
I mean, there were funny moments. I mean, definitely the Geordie short task was good fun, and I liked his general positivity. I think one of the big mistakes he made, I think he did the same thing, he made the same mistake that Toadie did in Celebrity 11, in that he tried to be everyone's friend, everyone's nice guy, made up a fuss over, like, having to nominate all of his friends, and just came across like a bit of a wet blanket over it.
But if he had maybe rose up against a couple of people, and if he had stayed the guy he was in the first week, but at the same time been maybe the mediator of the arguments, and been the guy who was everybody's big brother who calmed everybody down, big brother, pun intended, if he had been everybody's sort of the guy who was sort of the dad of the house, the big brother of the house, I think he would have probably been a contender to win, but instead he became the I'm bored now, I want to go home.
Ideally, though, I would have liked him to have been that dick that he was on Celebrity Fit Club, because that would have been great entertainment.
For entertainment value, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, having watched it was very nasty,
Yeah.
It wasn't the nastiest. Later on, it just got to the point that I was like, wow, I'm starting to really dislike most of these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things I've sort of learned, especially in recent years, is that as nice as it is to have the aggressive, like, nasty characters, you got to have someone in there who is just genuinely nice who can counter that.
To root for.
Yeah, I mean, even with like Big Brother 5, which everyone considers as like the classic series, even though you had the Victors, the Nadias, the Jasons, the Michelles, you still had a Dan and a Shell. Just these genuinely nice people to counter that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had had other storylines going on rather than just the drama.
Yeah, I think so.
Got over it after Emma was kicked out, for the most part.
But Dustin gets evicted, which I don't think any of us really missed, and then followed later by Bruce Jones. Now, I have to be honest, with this celebrity series, there was nobody there who I really passionately hated. Bruce, though, was the one that I came closest to. I mean, he was just a misery guts in there.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he was sort of like justified some of the reasons why he was miserable, but I mean, he was just joyless about it. Real miserable.
Overly angry about everything.
Overly angry about everything.
Do you know who he was? He was Victor Meldrew.
Yes.
But he was lacking the fun of a Victor Meldrew. And I mean, you can do grumpy and be fun with it. I mean, Jack D pretty much won that with the first Celebrity series, but Bruce was just misery gut, and I did miss him when he left.
He didn't have the charisma to be fun when he was doing it. He just came across. He was just like, wow, you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of his anger though came from the fact he was reportedly the lowest paid celebrity ever.
Oh, really? What, because they split it between the two Coronation Street people, did they?
Well, apparently he was really skint before then, so he had to take a lower fee than what everyone else did.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Are there any sort of positive aspects to Bruce, Joe? Is there anything that you can sort of think of that makes us think maybe he wasn't too bad?
But apart from his grumpiness, which I find hilarious, he had like a positive outlook really when he wasn't grumpy, in that it wasn't all doom and gloom for him. He enjoyed being around Vicky and Lauren.
Do you think so? I thought one of the missed opportunities with Bruce was that they didn't explore the Vicky relationship that much. I think they sort of expected them to be a pair which bounced off one another, and we never really got that much, in my opinion.
I thought that the Vicky relationship was probably his most screaming part, other than obviously the fish moment where he was hilarious during that, just unintentionally, I guess. We all thought he was joking, then when we realised he was serious, it was even funnier. But no, the Vicky thing for me, there was times, and this may have been the editing, because I know you don't know with these shows, there was times where it came across like especially when he would get drunk or something, or he'd get a little out of it, he seemed like he actually legitimately had almost feelings for Vicky, and I guess it's almost, if you played somebody's husband for that many years on TV, I guess it's going to happen, but she's obviously got a husband. I'm not sure whether he has or got a wife or not, but it seemed like he almost wanted something real out of it.
Yeah, I could sort of say that, yeah. But we move on though from Bruce and Dustin's eviction, and we move on to the next stage, and we move on to the return to the Big Brother house of Vanessa Feltz and the BBFM task.
And she didn't go crazy this time.
No, she didn't. But I tell you what, I know Vanessa Feltz gets a lot of grief from the Big Brother fan base. I know a lot of people within the mainstream audience don't like her, but she does deliver on stuff like this. She does know how to ruffle feathers, and I felt she did it with this task.
Yeah, and this was the task where, for me, I turned on Charlotte even more. The way she overreacted to, like, oh, that person said I hate this, well, who the fuck is that person? Fuck them! She went against the entire world, and, she's just in the celebrity eye. How long has she been on this Georgia show? She can't take criticism? Like, you're in the wrong business, love. Like, that was ridiculous. But the whole task was fun. If you go over the whole, outside interference, kind of thing, if you get over that whole thing, it was a fun task that caused things, and it was her and somebody else. I can't remember. I think it was Mario.
Mario Falcone, yeah.
Yeah, they both. Who, by the way, Mario Falcone. He sounds like an Italian gangster. That's probably because Falcone to me is Batman. But anyway, the whole thing here with that, it was fun. It caused drama, but those two, dear God, you're in the wrong business if you can't take criticism.
I think so as well. But one of the things I found interesting about that was that, maybe not so much with Nario, but if a civilian housemate had that sort of reaction as what Charlotte did, they would have been done for in terms of winning the show. And yet,
Geordie Shore, yay!
Exactly, that's just the point I was going to make, that Charlotte basically gets glorified for this sort of behaviour, when a civilian housemate would be condemned for it. We move on from that though, and one of the things that I found really interesting as well was that the emergence of a house split coming into the final week. On the one side, we sort of had the it crowd, the in crew of sort of Mario, Carol, Louis, and Charlotte, and then the outsiders of Lauren, Courtney, Abs, and to a lesser extent Vicky. What did you make of this sort of split in the house? And do you think that maybe if the series had been a bit longer, it could have become more of a long-term thing?
Maybe, yeah. I definitely sided with the unpopular side on this one. I sided more with the Laurens and the Courtneys than I did. I started to really dislike Carol, and I started to really dislike Charlotte. I just found their behaviour obnoxious. I felt they were in the wrong. I thought they were horrible to those people, and I didn't understand why they were popular.
Definitely, I totally in agreement. Maybe not so much with Carol, because I can understand Carol's popularity because she was in a hilarious jump. But Charlotte and Mario in particular, I really did have an issue with Mario. Well, it brings me on to a question though, which is about house divides in general. Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Where do you stand on like when the house gets split like this? Be it this series or the insiders versus the outsiders, the lip gloss bitches versus the jungle cats?
Yeah, I do. I think when it's two factions that are, you know, either with each other or against each other, I always think it's interesting to see how they act with the opposite side, and to see them, you know, fighting is good television, and to see them get along is good television. But it's the middle, the bitchiness between the groups that make it.
Yeah. One of the things I found quite interesting, particularly about this split though, was that when most of the times with a house divide, you're very clearly defined who is the good guys, as it were, and who are the bad guys. Yeah. So for example, the insiders were very much the bad guys of Big Brother 13, and the outsiders were the good guys. With this split, there was never really that. I never really got the impression there was anybody who was supposed to be very overtly the good guys. I think there were people who you genuinely did like more.
It was the people who were popular. In any other series, Lauren would have won, but because Charlotte was popular, you know, the whole divide thing. It brings me on to a sort of a debate I have in my head. It's a weird sort of thing when I watch the show. Is that back in the day when I was the most into this show, you know, well, other than me, but into it from behind the scenes, this sort of thing, when I was watching it every day and, you know, glued to it, was during, you know, the golden evil eras, and I think. When I watched it back then, I watched it as, you know, a casual, not a casual fan, but I watched it sort of like I cheered for the people the crowd cheered for, and I hated the people. And then as I've got sort of more older and sort of gone back and sort of almost analysing the show more, you know, I've started to like the more entertaining people. And it's kind of this debate in my head, like sometimes I love to see a nice, happy family, you know, when they're fun characters and they provide entertainment, but at the same time they all just get along and have fun together. That can be good television as well. But in general, the faction warfare does work. It works for good TV, it works for things. I don't... But too much of good thing is always too much. I think that I don't like it for every series, because otherwise it'd just be the same thing every year. You know, you'd see the people who, okay, so who's the ones who have got the muscles and are the good-looking, cool people, and who are the people who are kind of quirky and more relatable? Well, they're the ones who are going to win then, you know. So it becomes predictable if it's too often, but it's good when it works.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Karl.
And one of the big things as well that the house divide also brought out to me was the emergence of Abs as a contender to win. Because Abs had pretty much pulled the Sam Evans up until that point and been very under the radar, a likeable but slightly dull character. And really what the house split really helped to do was bring out Abs a lot more and really turn him out of nowhere into a really realistic contender to win. Did you like the emergence of Abs as a character, or did you just think, oh no, it's Sam again?
Oh no, Sam again. That's what I thought, really. It's just one of the annoying things.
And what about you, Karl?
It was the guy who, yeah, just like Sam, it's like he does nothing for weeks, and then the last week he has an argument, and oh god, he's going to win, we like him. Because he happened to yell against somebody we don't like. Okay. The most thing I remember from this guy was when he was like talking to bugs in the garden. Like, that's the most I remember of him.
My dream.
I do think though that Abs was a lot more relatable and likable than what Sam was. I felt that Sam was dull, but when Sam did emerge, I didn't think there was that endearing a character to him. I genuinely did think there was a nice person there with Abs in a way that there wasn't with Sam.
Sam, you thought he was sweet, you thought he was Glyn 2.0, but then, and mainly that was because he didn't speak because of the deafness, but when he did speak, there was occasionally times when you go, wow, if you could hear, you'd be a dick. Or sort of things he would say to remember the telling women and stuff, and the way he was treated. Like, he had almost this sexist attitude that was like, wow, if you didn't have the deaf thing, I don't think you'd be popular.
I definitely think so as well, and that's one of the main reasons why I liked Abs a lot more. But I didn't want Abs to win, and we'll come to the final results later. But we are coming up to the next eviction, which was a vote between Carol, Courtney, Louis, Mario, and Vicky. And unfortunately, it is Courtney who ends up getting evicted. Now, this was a bit of an interesting one in terms of the polls and how they related to the actual results, because on nearly every online poll, Courtney was probably one of the most popular. I think she topped the Digital Spy vote to save that week, and yet she ends up being the one to go. Usually the polls are often quite accurate when it comes to the civilian series, but yet they're completely off the radar when it comes to the celebrity ones. Are there different audiences for the two shows? Because I was so surprised that Courtney could be so popular with the supposed diehards and end up getting evicted.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it was a shock when it happened, and I think there was more people, well, at least one person who deserved to go more.
I don't think it was really a shock to me. I mean, I sort of expected Courtney to go that week, but it annoyed me that she could supposedly be so unpopular and yet not be, if you sort of know what I mean. What about you, Karl? Like, the fan bases between celebrity and civilian versions?
The thing is, obviously, what it comes down to is it costs you nothing to vote in a poll. It costs you money to ring up and vote for the show. I think there are a lot of people, myself included, who are diehards of the show who don't vote. And that's amplified in the celebrity version because it's more of a casual thing. So more of the casual people are voting, and, you know, when it's just the casual people, it's teenage girls, and whoever they like are going to win, and they're not going to like Courtney.
Yeah, well, I liked Courtney. I thought Courtney was a great housemaid, and this brings us on to our assessment of Courtney, because I tell you what, when I was on Facebook when launch night was happening, and I told people, I posted a status and I said, Courtney Stodden is going to be an absolute star of the series, and I got laughed at for it. But she did, in my opinion. She was a great housemaid for me.
Yeah.
I mean, she was sweet, she was endearing. I think sort of some people expected her to be a bit of a bitch because she looked quite similar to Carissa and Christina. But she was a sweet, nice girl, very endearing, had the great friendship with Lauren, looked quite good in my opinion. Sorry, that's just me being shallow. But I like the girl. I felt she needs to get a lot more praise than what she deserves, in my opinion. Do you know what she was for me? And this is a bit of an unpopular opinion. For me, she was Heidi of Spidey, but without Spencer.
Yeah. Heidi when she was nice.
Yeah.
She had she went in, she looked like she did, she was acting like she was acting, you were like, wow, she's gonna get annoying. But then, you know, she eventually, you know, you saw the soft side of her, you saw as she was away from her husband, you saw the teenage girl emerge, who you could identify with and like, and it was almost like, you know, she was this innocent teenage girl who almost has grown up too fast, and this is her being able to live a normal teenage years.
I think so. And it sort of brings me on to the opinion as well that I said earlier in the show, which is that I don't think that Courtney would be as popular if Doug had been there, because I don't think Doug would have allowed for Courtney to develop in the way that she did.
Yeah.
She's independent.
But so Courtney unfortunately goes, and a bit of a shock one for the casuals. I think the forum sort of expected this one, but the casuals was a bit of a surprise. Louis Spence leaving 7th.
No.
Which of course is going to upset Joe. Did it upset you, Karl?
No. My reaction was good. Fuck off. I was done with him on week 1, and everything he did since then annoyed me. And then when he started to become the I wanna go guy.
Yeah, I didn't like it when Louis did that, but Louis did that from pretty much the beginning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sort of a bit in between with you. I mean, I'm not a Louis Spence diehard in the way that Joe is, and I don't hate his guts like you do, Karl. But I'm sort of in the middle. I lean more towards you, but one of the things that sort of took me aback with Louis was that I felt there was a sort of world weaviness with him. He was sort of like quite cynical about celebrity status and how he was perceived as a celebrity. And I enjoyed Louis more when he was just talking normally and being this quite cynical self than he was when he was flailing his arms and he was dancing on glass, etc.
Yeah, it's nothing against. There are gay characters in Big Brother who I really like when they are just people, and I really liked Richard. I really liked Dan, where they're just normal people who have funny opinions, and have a good, charismatic voice to go along with that, as opposed to look at me, I'm gay. Those are the ones that really annoy me.
Yeah. You're more of the Louis Spence fan, Joe. Tell us some of your favourite moments of his.
Oh, just everything. No, I really agree with you where it was a bit annoying when there was the I want to go guy, but everything in between was quite entertaining for me.
As I said, it's very, very divisive character, but I think that's sort of what you expect from Louis Spence. I mean, I don't know. He's never been universally loved, even when he was in Pineapple Dance Studios.
Really? Oprah Winfrey loves him.
Oh, does she?
Well, Oprah loves everyone.
Oh, he actually, between Pineapple and coming back to this, he actually lived in America with Oprah. And he went on a show and did all sorts and stuff.
Imagine who they could get into this show if they had a budget and not a reputation. I mean, that's more than anything. They could have all the money in the world, but people are like, fuck no, that will destroy my career.
We'll move on from Louis Spence. So, as I said, divisive character, and it was good fun talking about him. But we move on to finale night. 6 people left. Do you think 6 is the right amount for a finale, or do you think it just feels a bit bloated?
I think 5 is. 5. Yeah, 5 or 4 is a good number to end on.
I think 5 or 4 as well, because it was quite interesting this one, because they completely forewent having highlights. Normally you just get like a brief 10 minutes of highlights of the last full day in the house, and then they get the evictions. With that, There was none of that, and it just went straight to getting them out the house, which I felt Channel 5 have never got finale night right for me, and I think this is just another example of them getting it wrong.
Yeah.
In general, it's the same as they generally don't get evictions right because they're rushed. They don't have the time that they used to have to do it properly, to have a full interview as well as the highlights. They have to cram it all into an hour or an hour and a half. And, 5 or 6 people worked when you had a 2-hour finale, not so much when you have an hour and a half one.
Yeah, and it was unenjoyable for it. But we come on to the finale night, and we come on to the 6th place housemate, which was Vicky. Now, Vicky was an interesting one because I sort of liked her. I'm probably more positive towards Vicky as what I did, but I had a feeling she had the potential to be this breakout character, and she never really did it. I felt that just as she was really beginning to build up a bit of momentum and become a lot more rootable, the series ends.
Yeah, she kind of just she built up to it and then fell flat on her face, basically.
I think in a longer series, Vicky would have had potential to be a bigger character than what she was. She started off too slowly, and you can't afford to do that in a celebrity series. Yeah, that's really all we can say about Vicky Entwistle, which is an unfortunate shame because, I loved her when she was in Corrie, when she played Janice Battersby.
Well, isn't that the case? Usually the people who are the most famous tend to be the most dull. It's the people who you don't know, and that's why, everybody considers, so I can't remember what series it was, the 2006 series, to be the best celebrity series, or a lot of people do, and that was won by a non-celebrity.
Chantal.
And usually the best person in these series is always usually the least famous one, or the one that's from another reality show. So it comes back to the fact of pretty much it's not about the celebrities. So why waste the money?
Yeah. But thankfully, after the disappointment of Vicky being evicted 6th, we get a good point in our 5th place finisher, which is Mario Falcone. Because, I don't know about you, I really didn't like Mario. And once again, I've tried hard, because since they've started putting Towie contestants into the series with Celebrity 8, I've tried hard to try and like these people and understand why they're so popular with the casuals, but I honestly just can't see it. And Mario's just another example, and it just makes me think, why are these people so likeable? Why are these people so famous? Because he was basically the same as Kirk. Kirk was this like self-entitled, sexist pig. And there was a lot of that in Mario. I
think Kirk came across a lot nicer though because of the relationship with Frankie. Mario was the nice guy for the first 2 weeks. In the last week, something happened where he was like, I don't have to try anymore.
Why do you think it is that Towie contestants end up coming across so badly on this show? Because we've had 3 in a row now, which have either underwhelmed or just been painfully unlikable.
It's just life, and it's people. You know, when you strip back the layers of people, sometimes you don't like what you find. And I think that especially the crowds, more than anybody, but especially the audience, are too ready to jump on somebody if they do something bad. We all have bad days, you know? I think turning on someone for one bad action or something is or because of a personality flaw. What you want them all to be the same person? Like, the whole personality clashes is what makes the show interesting, and finding out who they really are. And if you find out that person's not very likable, I know obviously that affects your opinion of them, but they have to do it consistently, and they have to do something that really annoys me to feel like they're just about to get booed. Like when, you know, Lauren comes out to booze, what does she do to get booed?
Nothing, just dress a bit eccentrically for all I see. So you don't understand the Mario hate in the way that other people would.
I don't think he did anything bad enough for hate.
That's fair enough. What about you, Joe?
I think some production have something to do with when they come out, whether everyone cheers or boos. To be honest, I don't know because I've never been on anything, but I think production have a lot more to do with evictions than they say that they do.
Well, I think they tell them before the show, don't they? They come out and say, if you're gonna boo, boo loudly, kind of thing, you know. I think they basically try and rile them up. I mean, I love the atmosphere of the live event crowd, but the atmosphere is definitely not what it used to be. Especially on finale nights. Yeah, it's a long way away from the big stages and the sprawling thousands of people that used to be there for these. It's not what it was. So I'm almost getting to the point that more than not, the crowds piss me off.
Yes.
They just get the chants, the booing of people for no reason, the yelling and chanting over somebody's interview.
That's awful. I really agree there.
I want them to go the opposite way. I want production to say to these people, okay, cheer if you want to, boo if you want to, but when they sit down to their interview, shut up.
We move on though, and we're going to move on to our 4th place finisher, which was Karl McGiffin. And I've got a feeling this is going to be a good one because I think we've all got really good opinions about Karl, whether it's as a fun drunk, someone who created confrontation. Where did you stand on it, Joe?
Where did name come last year?
Colleen Nolan.
Yeah.
Colleen was the runner-up.
Alright,
so really we
a second and a fourth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad actually. Not a bad run for this one.
Actually, by bringing up Colleen, you've actually brought me onto a really good question, which is, where do you think Karl stands in regards to the other loose women? Do you think she was a better character than?
She was second. I'd say Janine first, then Karl, then Colleen.
Because all 3 of them, in my opinion, have all brought a different dynamic, which I found quite interesting. Because Denise was more of an instigator of a conflict. She was arguably the nasty drunk, and she sort of ended up becoming the victim, which helped her win. Colleen had the more personal growth story and sort of emerged from being someone who was rather, I wouldn't say unlikable, but didn't really have an opinion, and then grew to become this like contender to win. And then we had Karl, who was more the flat-out comedy drunk. So I found it interesting that we've had all 3 different dynamics from 3 different characters. What about you, Karl? Where do you think Karl stands in terms of the loose women?
I think she was the most likeable of the 3. I don't think she was the most entertaining of the 3.
I think the next question is who's going to be next out of the swimming to going.
Who's going to be next from 5? You know, just keep draining that well.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be Richie from 5, and I'm going to guess Jane McDonald for the next loose woman.
Oh God.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Jane.
Do you know who I want in this show? And I've wanted it every single year because I know it's fun. And it's funny because we were talking about how I'm a wrestling fan before this show. Ric Flair. He would be amazing.
Ric Flair would be amazing. And apparently he's...
They could afford him because he needs the money.
He needs the money, that's just what I was going to say. I've always wanted Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
So, did
honestly, I don't know why they don't tap into this. I guess because it's not popular with their target audience, but there are plenty of broken down characters from pro wrestling who they could put in there and it would be just a car wreck to watch.
It would be so entertaining. So on the whole, though, we all felt that Carol delivered as a housemate.
Yeah.
Which I think so as well. Great entertainment, caused some conflicts, absolutely hilarious as a drunk. But we have to move on, though, and we have to move on to the latest member of the glorious third placer club, Lauren Harries. Well, why is it that all the great housemates, the show stealing housemates recently, all end up in third place?
I don't know. It's strange that it has been for the last few, and I think that definitely Lauren deserved to be above Ab than I think she deserved a better place than third.
Because that was something which you brought me on something which was really interesting there, Joe, which was that for a long time, we mentioned with the early evictions, Lauren was nearly always up, nearly always topping the poll or finishing second. And actually, she was the bookies' favourite to win briefly for a short period of time. And yet, she lost a lot of momentum in those later stages to only finish third. What do you think it was that happened that stopped her from getting the runner-up spot? Because Charlotte was inevitably going to win.
I honestly don't know what she did. I didn't see it. I guess she went against the favourites, and I didn't like the favourites, so I sort of sided with Lauren in the whole thing. She didn't deserve to get booed. In my opinion, she should have won.
I have to say, though, there was certainly a lot of great Lauren Harries moments that we can discuss here, though, because she was by far the breakout character of the series.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely. And it's stuff be it like the Geordie Shaw task, where she was just sat there and doing nothing and ended up stealing the scene. The breakdancing task, where she's just spinning around aimlessly. Just a lot of great random moments, and the relationship with Courtney as well. She really was a breakout character, and it's an absolute crying shame that she didn't end up winning it, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She was the one who went on the journey, to use a cliche. She's the one who had all the best moments, she provides all the entertainment. She is your winner, except, popularity went out, I guess.
Yeah, damn that popularity. In fact, they should stop letting the British public vote, because let's be honest, Sam, Charlotte, Rylan, they've never been great choices, have they?
Well, when you were bringing up about the voting, I think what it comes down to is, again, people who have more than 2 brain cells don't vote because they know it's a waste of money, or at least not very often. And the people who do vote are the people who are just like, yeah, I remember that person from Geordie Shore. Vote.
Yeah, vote for them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Karl.
Let's just ignore everything that they did in the house and let's just vote for them based on Geordie Shaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If voting was free, we'd all do it, but then again, there wouldn't be a show, so.
Yeah. But we have to try and find some positives about our final 2. It's Charlotte versus Abs. Charlotte, as we know, ends up being the victor, but we have to discuss our runner-up, which was Abs. And we sort of touched on this earlier about his emergence into being a contender to win. But on the whole assessment of Abs, do you think he was a good housemate, or do you think he was just middle of the road dull?
I have a bit of a soft spot for Abs. Oh, sorry, there's fireworks going off. It just scared me. Yeah, I can have a soft spot for Abs because he has the same disability as myself and yourself, Karl, Bainbridge, which was Asperger's syndrome.
I supported Abs in that regard as well, and I mean he was a nice enough bloke, but as we've seen many times before, nice doesn't make entertaining television.
Yeah.
And I can't really say that I was ever entertained by Abs. I thought he was a nice enough guy, probably nicer than what Sam was comparatively, but he was never exciting.
Yeah.
And it's one of the main reasons why, even though I was never the biggest lover of Charlotte, I always wanted Charlotte to beat Abs for that reason.
Oh yeah. In that
Yeah.
race, she definitely should have won. I love the fact that we've got more fireworks in this show right now than they did in the actual finale, or any of the finales on Channel 5. Yeah, production values have really gone down the pan once they've changed channels. But no, the thing here with Abs for me was, again, I liked him, but for me, the best combination of a character is somebody who is likable but also really entertaining. You get those two, and you've got a great winner. But you have somebody here who is just a nice guy who hung around and didn't really do much. The most memorable thing of him from the show was finding out he was bald.
I was taken aback by that, actually, to be honest. That and his comedy Jamaican accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very off-putting, I have to say there. I totally agree with you, Karl. Nice enough bloke, but nice does not make exciting television.
Yeah. I think Lauren definitely deserved to be Abs on entertainment.
Yeah. Did Lauren deserve to beat Charlotte, though? Because this is our opportunity
No.
to discuss our winner.
Yes.
I think
Absolutely.
I think you definitely deserve to beat Charlotte, but I think that's more me just not disliking Charlotte.
Yeah,
From a personal level.
it's not just I'm in the same boat. I didn't really like Charlotte, and also the thing with it also is that again we brought it up, all the great moments Lauren has done, and Charlotte did provide a lot of entertainment. A lot of the entertainment Charlotte provided was her bitching at someone. It was her getting drunk. It was all the stuff that we brought up of sort of her personifying what's wrong with our generation.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, though, that after having Sam win Big Brother 14, it needed a big, prominent character, a big, exciting, over-the-top character to win. And I think Charlotte did give us that. I would have liked it to have been Lauren, but I'm
But
okay.
isn't that a little bit like saying, it's okay that, what the heck, what was Jordan's boyfriend who won? Yeah,
Alex Reid.
Alex Reid. Yeah, saying that is like saying, well, Alex Reid is a good winner compared to Rachel Rice because he's not her.
I guess so, yeah. I guess so. But I mean, I'm okay with Charlotte winning just purely from an entertainment point of view, but from a personal point of view, she's not one of my favourites.
Yeah.
But I can see some sort of positives. I can understand why people do like her, but I'm not one of those people, I have to be honest. She was just too vulgar, too crude, and it was off-putting for me. I would have been the same if Jade won Big Brother 12 to make a comparison.
Yeah.
But
She was Jade meets Kinga.
Oh my god, don't even put that in my head, Charles.
I actually dread the idea of Jay actually meeting Kinga, because with his poo fetish and what Kinga does to wine bottles, not a very nice prospect. This is our opportunity, though, to judge Celebrity 12 as a series. On the whole, was it worth it?
No.
No.
Yeah, I think
it was another series where it happened because they had to have another celebrity series. Nothing really memorable happened. There were some good moments, but I think if you had taken the money they spent on this series and spent the money they spent on both of them on one series, you'd get one great series instead of two average series.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely agreement. What about you? What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And I'm in agreement as well. I think it had some good moments. I think it had some good characters. But imagine this merged in with Celebrity 11 or Celebrity 10, the Julie Goodyear series. That could have been an amazing series rather than two good series.
Why didn't you see the Goodyear and Love and Harries?
Oh, that would be amazing.
And speaking of ratings, it would probably get another million viewers just because people would be like, Big Brother, I haven't seen that in 6 months.
Rather than not this again.
Yeah.
I have to say though, lads, unfortunately, that's all we got time for. We have ran out. We've had a great, We've had a great about hour and 30 minutes talking about Celebrity 12. I've certainly enjoyed it, and I hope you two have as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, I'm definitely the sort of person who goes off on tangents and talks in monologues sometimes, and I know I do it because I record myself and listen back to it on occasion. So I do apologise when I go off on long-winded things, but it's been fun, yeah.
Hey, when you've recorded with Paul Barron, it's you get used to it.
It's cool though, I liked it.
Yeah. I have to say though, I've really enjoyed recording this podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to it at home. This has been Big Brother's Big Archive. My name's been Carl Bainbridge. That's been Joseph Tilley. And that's been Mr. Karl Dutton.
See you later, guys.
And we hope to see you again in the near future. Bye bye for now.